Unmute.
Pardon?
I'm saying you unmute. Huh? Ocheng.
Yeah, we've unmuted.
Simshtue watu wenye wameenda.
Can you kindly unmute? William.
Unmute.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying people to unmute. Huh? Umewatumia.
Mwite Mark. Nalia kupika chai.
Wait, Grace.
Yes?
Can you unmute? Jama, we begin our class.
Tuangoje.
For how long?
Sijui sasa.
So we can give them 5 minutes.
Five ni kidogo, hapa 10.
10? Okay, sawa.
So nataka tuseme
Hi. I can see some of you have started to complain.
no one has complained, sir.
I have seen a message. So
Everyone is
still we wait for
confused.
4 minutes, huh?
Yes,
So we can wait for 4 minutes.
exactly.
Okay. So down the notes as usual, the way we have been doing it. Are we in consensus with that?
Yes, sir.
William? Tunaitikiana?
Yes, sir.
I hope the other members are okay, yeah? The other members are okay with that?
Yes.
So you can use the chatting site to respond. Huh? Just use the chatting site to respond. So we shall be discussing for 1 hour. I sent you the notes. You had the right time, just as usual. Then we just meet for 1 hour. We do the discussion. Na maisha inaendelea. Sawa. For us to cater for those wenye wanaumia na bundles. Huh? So today I want us to do a recap so that we get a starting point from where we left. Huh? So what we have been saying is the essence of this unit is for us to be able to understand more about computers. Since it is your course, you need to understand basic things. Huh? And that's why we have been saying it is very, very important for you to understand what is a computer, and we defined it. And we said all the people who have computers, given that you have the smartphones, that is a computer, and you try to explain, we try to explain why a mobile phone is a computer. So we don't have to go back to that. But what we have been saying is when it comes to the computers, we can have 3 components. That is the computer hardware. We have the computer software. Then we have the computer liveware. So what we have been saying is you cannot rule one of those parts out or one of those components out. Why? We need you as the user to be able to operate the computer. We need the software part to be able to execute what you are doing, as well as we need the hardware part. That is the part you are supposed to interact with as you enter the instructions. That is what we have been saying. Then we began with the computer hardware, whereby we said with computer hardware, it is the part you can be able to see and touch. It is the physical part of the computer. Any part you can touch forms the computer hardware. Then we said we can categorize the computer hardware into different categories. We can have the input devices. We can have the output devices. We can have the processing unit. Then we have the storage devices. Then we began with the input devices. We try to expound more on those. And we say the essence of the input devices is 1 to enter data into the computer system. Then number 2 is to change the human readable form of what we are entering to the computers into a machine language. Remember, we have been saying that the computers can only understand data that is in form of ones and zeros. So we need a device to be able to change what you are typing, which is the English or the vernacular statements, into a machine language that is in form of ones and zeros, and it is the work of the input device. So the moment you are using your keyboard and you press any key, it changes the character you have pressed into form of zeros and ones, which is a form that the processing unit can be able to understand. Then with that, we try to expound more on these input devices. We said we can have the key devices, whereby with the key devices, they have the keypads, and the keypads are used to type the characters. That is what we said. Then we tried to explain more about the keyboard. We said we have the keyboard layout, whereby the keys are arranged in a given order. Then we categorized those keys as functional keys, as alphanumeric keys, the number keys, the special keys, and the cursor movement keys. And we explained each category of those keys. Then we went to the pointing devices, whereby we discussed more about the mouse. We discussed about the trackball. We discussed about the joysticks, the stylus, the light pens, etc. Then after that, we talked about the touch screens. We said they are sensitive to touch. Then we talked again about the microphones. We said we can use sound to input data into the computer system. So with the microphone, it assists us to enter the voice, and we saw some advantages of using that. So we don't have still to go back to that. Then I think in our last class we discussed about the processing unit. We said it is basically the brain of the computer, in quotes, the brain. It is the part that will try to do the activities that you are trying to execute. And we said it is very, very important you think of that processing unit. Sometimes we try to burden our systems with so many instructions to an extent that the system becomes slower and slower. So you need to understand the capability of your computer so that you don't load so many instructions, because we said the moment you load so many instructions, they occupy the RAM, and when they occupy the RAM, it means that the processor can only access the instructions it can be able to process. So if the processor has a small processing speed, it will mean that yes, we are overloading the RAM, but the processor can only chew a few instructions. So just try to understand your computer. Try to understand the specifications of that computer, that is the features of that computer. Then from that you can be able to understand how fast your computer can be and how many instructions can be loaded to that computer at a given time. Then what we have been saying is, when it comes to the processing unit, it has basically three elements or three components. It is made up of mainly three parts. There is the central, that is the control unit. Then number two, it is the ALU, and kindly take note of those abbreviations. They are very, very important. So with CU, we said it is the control unit. Sio ile ya kanisa, ile ya Christian unit. Is it Christian Union? I'm a Christian unit. Not that, but control unit. Then we have the ALU, arithmetic logic unit. Then we have the main memory. So what we have been saying is, whenever you are doing any activity with your computer, those instructions must be loaded to the main memory. That's why I said the essence of the main memory is to support instructions immediately before they are processed. That is when they are loaded. When you just tap on any application to open, those instructions are sent to the main memory. Then the main memory still supports the instructions during processing. Then it supports instructions immediately after processing. That is before you exit that program, which means because the instructions still are loaded to the processor, they must be contained in a memory, and that memory is the main memory. Then we say the moment you save your work and you exit that window, those instructions are sent to the secondary storage devices. So now they move from the RAM now to the hard disk or to the flash disk where you are sending your work to, or even to the main memory, even to the to the memory card if you are saving your work in the memory card. Then we we said with the control unit, it is the part of the processing unit that will one control all the processes of the ALU. Like what I said is, we need to organize these tasks in such a way that we know a given task will be the first to be processed, another task will be the second to be processed, another task will be the third to be processed, another task will be task number n to be processed. So we need to organize those tasks in a given order. So we need a control. It is the work of the control unit to be able to perform that activity. Then again, I said we need to interpret those instructions to a form that the ALU can be able to understand. Again, it is work of the control unit to interpret these instructions and put them in a form that the ALU can understand the kind of activity that is to be performed to a given task. So with the control unit, basically or mainly it performs two activities. The first one is to control, monitor, manage all the activities of the ALU. Then number two is to interpret instructions or translate instructions to a form that the ALU can be able to understand. Then after that, we talked about the ALU. We said it is the part that does the actual execution of the task. So when you are doing your arithmetic operations, when you are doing your logical operations, it is the ALU that we engage. It is the one that does that execution. So that was all we discussed. Then we went to the main memory, whereby we said we can categorize the main memory into two. We have the RAM and then we have the ROM. Then as we were beginning this discussion, I took you to the computer lab. I showed you the RAM. So you have no any difficult to figure out what it is. Again, I showed you a ROM. We said they are just chips that are fixed in the motherboard or on the motherboard. Then we say the difference between the RAM and the ROM is with a ROM we can only access the instructions that are there, which means we cannot write that memory. But with the RAM we can be able to write that memory, as well as we can be able to retrieve the instructions that are there. That's why we said RAM is user defined because it supports your instructions, while ROM is not user defined. Then again we said with RAM it supports instructions temporarily as compared to a ROM that will store instructions permanently. That's why we say it is non-volatile, because the contents don't disappear when the power is off or when we switch off that computer. The moment you come again and you restart your computer, still you can be able to access those instructions. Then with the RAM, we said it is a volatile because it stores the instructions temporarily. So the moment you exit the application you are using, you cannot be able to access those instructions once again. Then again, we said when it comes to the ROM, this is a memory that is meant to keep instructions permanently. That's why we saw different types of ROM. We said we have the mask ROM or the mask read-only memory. That is a memory that is only written once by the manufacturer of that device. That's why I say at the moment you go and purchase your mobile phone and you start it, if it is made by the Samsung, it will tell you Samsung, issues to deal with the Samsung. If it is made by Techno, it will tell you issues to do with Techno. If it is made by Oppo and iPhone, it will tell you instructions concerning that manufacturer. Why? Because the instructions are kept in the ROM and they are only written once by the manufacturer. No any other person can be able to read that memory and write his or her own instructions. Then we have the other memory, which is the PROM, Programmable Read-Only Memory, which is a memory that can be written by the users. Like for instance, when you go and purchase your computer, you need to give it your PC name or the personal computer's name. If it is your mobile phone, you need to give it your name. The moment you are writing that memory, you are right. That ROM is referred to as programmable read-only memory, whereby you can only write the instructions once. When you write them, they cannot be changed. Then now we talked about erasable, programmable, read-only memory, whereby we say this memory can be erased using UV, which is ultraviolet light. Then you can be able to write the instructions again, which means each and every time you need to change the instructions, you only need to erase that memory using UV. Then after that, you reprogram that memory again. Then after that, we talked about electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, whereby the instructions can be erased and written again by the use of electricity. So those were the different kinds of memories we talked about. Then after that, we discussed about the RAM, whereby we say we can categorize them in we have static, we have the dynamic. We have the static, we say the static, it supports the instructions as long as the computer is powered. So we don't need to keep on refreshing that memory because the instructions are there. Then with the dynamic RAM, we said we need to keep on refreshing those memories because that memory tries to erase its content when it remains idle for some time. That's why we say that memory you need to keep on refreshing it and every time you're using your computer. Then we say with the static RAM, it is more expensive as compared to the dynamic RAM. Again, we said when it comes to the speed, the static RAM is faster. That is, the processor can be able to draw more instructions from that memory as compared to the dynamic RAM. That's why it is much faster than the dynamic RAM. So that was all we discussed. Then we talked about the special types of the memories, whereby I explained about the register, I explained about the cache memory, I explained again about the buffer. So that is where I guess we stopped. So that is just a recap of what we did. Are we moving together? Are we moving together?
Yes.
That's good. So now we can start about. It's good. Now you can unmute. Thanks for that. So now we can start afresh about the output devices. Remember what I said. You cannot get instructions from the processing unit unless you have an output device. So we need the screen we use for us to be able to see what we are doing with our mobile phones, what we are doing with our computers. We need a printer to be able to transform now our outputs into a form that you can be able to see. Again, we need maybe the light emitting diodes to be able to see the light which are produced by a given system. Again, we need the speakers to get the output that is in form of sound. Important. And remember what I have been saying, what you see on the screen is what has been executed. Those are the inputs that have been executed. They are the inputs that have been executed. What you see on the screen. Then, again, remember this. When you enter the wrong data, you expect to get information that is wrong. That's why we normally say in computing that garbage in, garbage out. When you enter trash to your system, what you get is a trash. If the data is correct, we expect the information to be correct. Because you have been saying the computers don't make mistakes. Computers don't make mistakes. They are ever accurate. The only person who can make mistake is the user, not the computer. Or the mistake can arise from the software we are using. So if the programmer makes a mistake when coming out with the software, when you enter the data, maybe it can output the wrong kind of information. But if everything is okay, when you enter the correct data, what you see on the screen as our information, it's something that is correct. Then remember this, what you see on the screen now is not data, it is information, because it has already been processed. So we have been saying data is passed through the processor, it must be executed. Now we change this data into information. So what we see on the screen is information now, not the data. But when we are talking about input devices, we are talking about the data because it has not been executed. It has no meaning when it comes to the computers. Then, again, what you need to understand with output devices, we can categorize them into two. We have hard copy output devices. Then we have soft copy output devices. With the hard copy output devices, they are devices that will give us outputs in a form that we can be able to touch. We can see and touch. Like when you talk about a printed work, you can be able to see the output as well as you can be able to touch. That's why, let's say, for instance, if your printer is not that good and it is spilling a lot of ink, the moment you touch where we have tools, you can be able to dirty them. You can be able to spray that ink because it is a form you can touch. But when it comes to the soft devices, they give us outputs in that we can either see or we can hear, but we cannot touch. Then we say with the soft copy output devices, they don't last for long. Like for instance, if it is, sorry, if it is a soft copy output, not last for long. And what I mean, if it is sound, unasikiza tu sauti inapita. Unasikiza tu sauti inapita. Unless you play, you replay the content. Unasikiza tu ikiendelea inapita. Then kama ni which is on the screen, the moment the moment you exit that window, the moment you exit that program, you can't be able to access those instructions again. Say they don't last for long. But if it is a printout, kitu umeprint kwa karatasi, unaweza chukua anytime you want. You can be going through that anytime you want. That's why we say they can keep information that is long lasting. Then, when it comes to the hard copy output, we say that when we are producing these hard copy outputs, we must put into consideration the kind of people we are passing this to. Because for that person is blind, we cannot have that printout. unless the printout is special is made. So the hard copy we must direction the person we are targeting to have that information. Compliance, let's use the special printers to be able to print the information in such a way that that physically challenged person can be able to touch the characters and decide what kind of character is that. Then kama ni hao watu wengine, we can be able to use any kind of printer. Are we moving together? Can I see on the chat site? Are we moving together? Are we moving together, class? To respond tu kwa chat na angalia.
Yes.
Wajua shida with this. Okay, sawa. Wajua shida with this platform, I can be talking alone. Huh? I can be talking alone. Huh?
Yeah.
Na wengine wanaweza login then wanaacha
Walale.
wanapotea. Nalale.
Nalale.
But I talk a lot. Kulala nitakusumbua sana. Unless sauti umetoa. Si ndio? Christine David. Naona kama Christine hayuko. Namwona ako present lakini
Yeah.
you are there.
Yeah.
Okay. Kennedy Wanjama. Kennedy. In mute, you say hi.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Hi.
You are there. Let me test another person. Huh? Edward.
Yeah. Matilo.
Edward Mwangi. Edward Mwangi. Hi.
Amelala.
Shalala. Acha nione Kurino.
Niko.
Huko.
Yeah.
Nimeona Caroline ameingia. Caroline.
Yes.
Utakata na sisi.
Sorry, yeah, nitajaribu.
Okay, sawa.
Okay.
So tuendelee. Naona Edward amerudi. Tuendelee, si ndio? Umerefresh, tuendelee.
Tunaendelea.
Haya, sawa. Nimesema when it comes to the output devices, we can categorize them into hard copy as well as soft copy. So even the devices can be hard copy output devices and soft copy output devices. Huh? Then we have said if it is soft copy output devices, they give us information in a form that we can only hear, or we can see, but we can't touch. Then when it comes to the hard copy output devices, they give us information that we can be able to see as well as we can be able to touch. Then now we can start with the soft copy output devices. With the soft copy output devices, they give us information in form of soft copy. A form we can either hear or see, but we can touch. Then when it comes to these output devices, this is where we categorize the screens we use, that is the monitor, as well as the speakers, and even the light emitting diodes. What we refer to as LED. And I want to discuss about these lights. Like for instance, I say when you start your computer, and maybe it lights up the red light, you must be able to understand that your system has a problem. Maybe the problem could be your processor, the problem could be your RAM. So you need to be able to understand those signs. Then if it starts with red, then it changes into the green light, you know that your system is okay. So with the light emitting diodes, with those lights, they communicate different information. Ukiona ni green, kuna ile information ina communicate. Ukiona ni red, kuna ile information ina communicate. So you need to be able to understand. When it comes to the ukiona kama ni red, you understand that you are not supposed to cross that road. Kama ni green, you are supposed to cross. Kama ni orange, you are supposed to prepare yourself either to cross. So the same way hizi lights zinakuanga na meaning. Ukiona imewaka tu continuously red, understand your processor maybe kuna shida, RAM kuna shida. Ukiona imechange to green, just understand your system is okay. But sometimes the moment you power on your computer, you press the power button, itawaka kwanza red, then it change to green. Your system is okay. But if it is lighting continuously, you have to check on that. So that is light emitting diodes. Kila light iko na its own meaning. Then we have the speakers. We said with the speakers they are used to output information in form of sound. Like one of you asked in a class, I don't know which class, but I know it is one of you members. Aliuliza kama mtu ni blind, atapataje the output? That person can be able to get the output in form of sound. Sababu hiyo mtu anaweza sikia. So with the speakers, they output information in form of sound. Then we say with the speakers again, they have their own advantages. You can be able to learn pronunciation through the use of those speakers. So kama unataka ku learn pronunciation, if you're interested on that, just go to a site whereby you can be able to get output in form of sound. Then you'll get the correct pronunciation of the words or and then again, when it comes to the sound, you can be able to listen to so many instructions, maybe comfortably, rather than you going through the instruction or reading through the instructions. Unaweza sikiza for the whole day. Unaweza sikiza for the whole day. But tukisema we sit down tushindie kusoma the whole day, maybe it might not be comfortable. But kusikiza, unaweza sikiza the whole day comfortably. So we can get large amounts of information comfortably as compared to when we are reading or when we are accessing the information through a printout. Then when it comes to the monitors or the screens, hii si kitu mgeni kwenu because you have your mobile phones. At home, you have the TVs, you can connect them to the computers, then you can be able to get the information. So this is not something that is new. And with the monitor, it is also referred to as the screen. With the screen, we can just access the information the same way to the monitor. So ukisikia mtu anasema screen, ukisikia mtu anasema monitor, it means the same thing. Then when it comes to these screens or monitors, what I said is we can have one that is single colored, was monochrome, and the other one is colored, which can give images in form of different colors. Na tuliankana hakuna kusema ati screen yangu ni black and white. Hakuna screen ukuwa black and white. It is a single colored screen. It can only give information in form of a single color, that is the black. White ina signify hapo hakuna character. And remember what I said. I said with these characters or the images and the documents that are made, they are made using a series of dots. Those are just dots which are projected to the screen at a very high speed. That's why, for instance, when you are watching anything on your computer, or let me use a practical example like our TV. When we are using our TV and the signals are weak, unaweza ona hiyo screen ikiflipped, then utaona tuvitu tunakaa tu dot hivyo. Those dots are the ones that make the image, and they are at high speed. That's why you cannot be able to tell, because they are projected at high speed. Then we have to note the screen resolution. The screen resolution, it gives us the quality of the image you can be able to see, and it is measured in terms of pixels. Pixels are those dots. If the dots are so many and sent at high speed, we expect the quality of that image to be good. But if at all the screen resolution iko chini, the image quality is not that good. That's why the moment you go to purchase, maybe tuseme umeenda kununua simu, just check issues to do with the screen resolution. Ukiona inakupatia nini, numbers ziko chini, jua the image quality will be poor. If it is giving you maybe numbers ziko juu, the image quality will be good. So nowadays ukienda kununua, if it is your device, just check on that screen resolution. That is the number of pixels which can be sent per second. Kama iko juu, quality iko sawa. Kama iko chini, quality itakuwa chini. That's why nowadays kuna kitu inaitwa graphics. Ukienda kununua system, uliza mambo na graphics. They'll dictate the quality of that image. So ukiulizia watakuelezea. Then with these pixels, because we have said they are sent at high speed, that's why tunaonanga kama ni image iko continuous. When you are playing your movie, tunaona iko continuous because the dots are at high speed. Else utaona tu zinaachana, utakuwa unaweza sema ile ni kadot, but that is not always the case because they are at high. Then when it comes to the connectivity of these monitors, just as per your notes, utaona kuna VGA, kuna CGA, and those series of adapters which are used. Just to go through those series, you'll get to understand them. Then you'll get to understand that some are outdated. We don't use them. They were used before. But in nyinyi.com, you are not using some of those series of, that is the adapters for the monitors. Then let me go to something which is important, that is the categories of the monitor. We can classify the monitor as a CRT, that is cathode ray tube, as well as we can have the flat screens. And there is a class we tried to expound more about this CRT. Tulisema with the CRT iko na nyuma, and they were laughing. That is the kind of language you use. It has a projection behind, whereby I said that projection is meant to accommodate the plates, and these plates are the ones that do project the dots towards the screen. And with these plates, we have 4 of them, 2 that are vertically arranged and are parallel to each other. Then we have horizontally arranged and they are parallel to each other. So that's why you can be able to see those dots on the screen, and that's why we have the projections. Because of those plates, they must be arranged to be able to propel or to project those dots. That's why iko na hiyo nyuma. Then what I said with the CRT is the image, the screen or your part ya kuangalia ni curved in a way. It is not is curved. The screen is curved. That's why when you are seated at different parts of the room, you can be able to see the images, unlike in the flat screens. Kuna place utakaa or a corner utakaa ukiangalia, let's say, a movie, upate uone the images, but CRT, because it is curved in a way, you can be able to see those images. Then, because the CRT is a plate and they must be powered, it uses a lot of power as compared to the flat screens. Wakati stima iko chini to a given level, your CRT will not light up, but your flat screen can light up, not consume a lot of power. That's why kama unanunua tokens na uende ununue TV iko na CRT zinaisha haraka as compared to another person who is using a flat screen, because a CRT will consume a lot of power which transforms to the token as compared to the other person who is using the flat screen. Then when it comes to the image quality of a CRT, it is not that good. Wanga zinapeana image which is not that much appealing. In fact, ukitoka kwa flat screen uende kwa CRT, utajisikia tu ni kama umeingia tu kwa hell, umeingia tu kwa shimo, umeenda kwa shetani, if I can use that. You'll feel uncomfortable. But if you transform from a CRT to a flat screen, utasema kweli hapa ndio Mungu anaishi, because utakuwa na enjoy the quality of those images, because the images are of good quality. And that's why the flat screens are more expensive as compared to the CRTs, because one, the image quality is good, two, they consume less power, then three, it is the technology that is used. It is more advanced, so expensive. Then when it comes to the CRT, they are cheap. We have said the image quality is not that good. Then they consume a lot of power. And don't leave alone the weight which the CRT bears. They are heavier as compared to a flat screen. That is, you need a lot of energy to change them from one point to another. Even I guess some of you hawezi fikisha hiyo CRT. Kuna wengine hawezi fikisha hiyo CRT. Acha niwaambie mmoja hawezi fikisha. Jacqueline, unmute.
Yes.
Unaweza fikisha CRT? Sema hapana. Haya, hebu tuulize mwingine. Who is this? Everson.
Yes.
Everson. Oh, uko?
Niko.
Bundles hazijaisha?
Haziishingi.
But niliona ulikuwa usha complain.
Hapana, nilikuwa naambia watu wana video wataishiwa.
So ni wewe umewafanya wanini nisiwaone?
Wanaweza onekana tu wakitaka kama wako nazo.
Ni wandosi wako nazo. Sawa, unaweza fikisha CRT? Nani hawezi fikisha kwa hiyo klasi yenu?
Festus hawezi.
Sawa. Anyway, the issue is CRT ni mzito kuliko a flat screen. Then we expect the space that is occupied by a CRT kuwe kubwa, unlike a flat screen. A flat screen ita occupy a small space because haina hiyo projection ya nyuma. Ni sawa? Are we together, class? Kuna swali?
Yes.
Kuna swali?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Wakati ulikuwa unasemea kuhusu screen resolutions in order for you to have good quality pictures. How pixels are we talking about when you want to go buy a phone?
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
It's a nice question, huh?
Yeah.
Ndio watu wajue nani anaongea. Sawa?
Ni sawa.
Yeah. Tuambie jina basi.
Joy from 1A4.
Okay, that's good. A nice question. So when you go to purchase a mobile phone, the pixels are determined by the kind of mobile phone you are going to purchase. For instance, tuseme unaendea Tecno Spark 4, iko na different screen resolution. Utapata maybe it's 1495 by another number. Then ukienda kununua maybe Tecno Camon, inaitwa Camon ama inaitwa Tecno what? Is it Camon?
Yeah, Tecno Camon.
Yes, utapata iko na a different screen resolution. But I have said that ukitaka kujua yenye iko na a good quality, that is a good image quality, unaangalia ile iko na the higher number. Are we together? Yenye iko na higher number. So ukipata moja, maybe this is just an example, moja iko 1495 by maybe 1600, na unapata ingine iko 15 something by 18 something, that is 1600 by 1800. It will mean that the one with 100 by 1800 will have a better image quality as compared to the former.
The former, yeah.
Yes, you get the sense.
Yes.
So ukienda kuangalia tu itakupatia the size of the screen, and this is something I have not talked about. The size of the screen is measured diagonally from one corner to the other corner. Si unaelewa diagonally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is measured diagonally. So ukiona imeandikwa 15 inch, just understand that it is 15 inch diagonally. If your computer is 17 inch, understand that your screen is 17 inch diagonally. If your mobile phone is 5 inch, understand that it is diagonally. Then after that watakupatia that screen resolution.
Yeah.
Sawa? Watakuandikia 1590 something by 1600. That is the screen resolution. But when you go to select a mobile phone, angalia ile kona screen resolution iko juu, because it will give as compared to ile iko chini. Sawa? Then again, when you are using your computers, you can even be able to adjust that screen resolution. When you go to settings, control panel, display, screen resolution, you will see different screen resolutions. You can be able to adjust that screen resolution, because I understand wanga inapeana low screen resolution, kuna medium screen resolution, and kuna high screen resolution.
Unasema mtu mwenda kwa settings?
Yes, ukienda kwa settings za no, si kwa simu, sasa kwa computer. Sawa? Be either it is your laptop, be either it is your desktop, you can be able to understand to adjust the image quality. Sawa?
Yeah.
Are you answered?
Yes.
Okay.
Another question?
Yes.
Yes. Kwa laptop,
yes,
there is kuna hii storage mbili inaitwa new volume D na local disk C. Difference between the two.
Are you using SSD or you are using this other hard disk?
I'm not sure.
So what happens is the moment we are using the hard disk, we can be able to partition our hard disk into different directories. That's why sometimes when you are using another person's computer, utaona kuna C, kuna local disk D, kuna local disk E, and maybe F, depending on the number of partitions that a disk is broken into. Now, your question is, your computer inakwambia kuna local disk C, then kuna ingine inajiandika system, is it system volume, something like that, huh?
Yeah.
That is a memory which is virtual. It is virtual, huh? And it contains instructions about your system. Huh?
Yeah.
It contains instructions about your system. And most of the times, it is all about your operating system. Is that?
Yeah.
Yes, but it is virtual. It is part of that local disk C. Are we together?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. Then, bado kwa hiyo swali is the moment you go to purchase a computer or a laptop, I encourage my people to always partition. Huh?
Yes.
Unajua what is to partition?
No.
No. To partition is tuseme umeenda kununua your computer na hard disk iko na 500 GB. We can be able to break that 500 GB or we subdivide it into smaller capacities. Huh? We can maybe say, let us have one part starting from 0 all the way to 200 GB. Then another part will start from that 200 GB all the way maybe to 350 GB. Then from 350 GB all the way to 500 GB. Unaona tumekuwa na different parts. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is all about partitioning. And the essence of this partitioning, you can be able to organize your storage in such a way that the moment you are installing your operating system, itaenda kwa local disk C. The moment you install maybe other applications, they will go to local disk C. Then kama ni vitu kama tuseme uko na tu software unataka kuweka, maybe uko na tu vitu twako crucial things you want to keep in a safe place, you can say I'm going to keep them in local disk D. Then the other local disk can be of stuffs that maybe you frequently use. Kama ni notes, kama maybe you like movies, kama you like playing music, you can keep them in that local disk. So which means the moment you want to search a given thing, kama ni notes, hautashindia kutafuta kwa CD memories. You just go straight to the local disk where you have those notes. Right together. Kama software unataka, utaenda kwa ile local disk iko na hizo software. So it organizes your memory in a good way. Yeah? Then kuna kitu ingine. You know your system crash? Together. So unaweza kuwa unatumia computer na crash, then it is not starting up. It's not starting up. Yes, then maybe you need to update your operating system. Maybe you need to install operating system afresh. You get the sense? So the moment you want to install that operating system afresh, the only partition utanguza ni ile local disk C. You get the sense? So if at all you are going to format that partition, you will only erase what is in local disk C, then what is in local disk D will remain, local disk E will remain. You get the sense? So if hizo vitu zingine zitakuwa safe. But take a case whereby you have not partitioned your hard disk, then machine yako iende crash completely. And the only way is for you to format that hard disk, then you you install the operating system afresh, what will happen to your documents?
They will disappear.
They will disappear. Sawa. So always ukinunua machine, partition it. Ikuwe na local disk C where we have the operating system and the applications you have installed. Then we have the other partitions where you have your stuff. Ni sawa?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes, another one.
Yes. Go ahead.
What are the factors to consider when installing an antivirus? Like what should you look at? Yeah.
We shall discuss this when we shall be talking about software, but I can just answer. One, when you are purchasing any antivirus, kwanza angalia capacity ya hiyo antivirus against your RAM and your processing speed. It must be compatible with your RAM and your processing speed. Because if they are not compatible, the installation will not be complete. Are we together?
Yeah.
Then number two, just check at that antivirus. Is it genuine or a counterfeit? Because if it is a counterfeit antivirus, it will mean that there are some sites maybe it cannot block, or maybe it can be doing some installations behind the background.
Yes.
Then again, you have to look at the documentation of that antivirus. You need to understand more about that antivirus, how it works. Because you can come and install a given antivirus in your system and it blocks some of your applications, or it can block some of your parts, which means now you'll not be able to use a given software, you'll not be able to perform a given task. You understand?
Yes.
So you look at the documentation. What can that antivirus do? Which sites does it block? Because unaonanga zingine when you install, itakwambia your antivirus is blocking this site, this site, this site, this site, this site. See, wanga tuna experience kitu kama hiyo.
Yes.
So we need a documentation to be able to understand which sites it can be able to block. Are we together?
Yeah.
Then again, we look at the number of users. The number of users who can be able to use that antivirus. Kuna moja ukienda kununua, in fact the language we use ni the number of keys. Kuna single key, kuna multiple key. What it means is, ukienda kununua antivirus na ikuwa iko na single key, you can only install that copy of the antivirus kwa one machine. Ukienda kuinstall kwa machine ingine haitaitikia. You get the sense?
Yes.
But if it is multiple key, now we purchase your antivirus, you can be able to install to different computers.
Yeah.
So unaweza install kwa computer moja, weke key yake, uende kwa computer ingine, weke key yake, uende kwa computer ingine, weke key yake. Most of the times zingine uanga zinapeana 3 keys. Yeah, but wajua with the technology you can be able to crack those keys. So the moment you crack the key, it will mean that you can be able to install that antivirus to several computers without any problem.
Yeah.
Sawa.
Yeah.
So those are some of the key things you are supposed to look at when you are going to purchase a given antivirus. Na ukienda kununua antivirus ambayo ni mzito na kuja kuinstall kwa computer yako na ina that high storage, main memory and processing speed, it slows down your system. You get a sense?
Yeah.
So you look at the capacity of that. Sawa. Yeah, because the antivirus, they are meant to run on the background.
Yeah.
They are meant to run on the background. What I mean is, the moment you start your computer, they are meant to be active so that we can protect your system. So ikilodiwa kwa RAM, remember kuna ile space ita occupy kwa RAM. So kama ni mzito, it means that it will occupy a large space in the RAM. Then you need to use your computer, whereby we are using the same RAM, which means now the instructions which the RAM will be able to support will be fewer. That's why your system becomes slower. Sawa?
Yeah.
Okay. Answered?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the operating system ya laptop yangu laptop yangu ni 4GB RAM. Install Kaspersky. Is that okay? Or I have to change?
With the 4GB, it's okay, yeah?
Yeah.
With the 4GB, it's okay with Kaspersky.
Oh, okay.
Lakini wakati uta-install some other compilers, uta-note your speed may decline. Kaspersky inakuanga mzito kiasi. Uta-note your speed may decline.
Yeah.
But with the 4GB, iko sawa.
Oh, 4GB Windows 10 Pro.
Yeah, it's okay. Si mbaya vile.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Mad. Mwalimu. Yeah.
Smanda, tuachane na hizi vitu za bure bana. Kurino. Anyway, sometimes with the smart app, yes, it works, but usiwahi trust. Never trust smart app. Sawa?
Okay.
Never trust it.
Yeah.
Haikuangi that effective. Yes, ni kadogo.
Yeah.
But hakuangi effective when it comes to the security measures.
Sawa. Vitu za bure.
Ya hapana, wewe wacha kumchomea bana. Utamchomea kwa kina Vanessa, na kina Jacqueline, usimchomee, na kina Caroline and Teresa. So,
Mwalimu,
are you okay now? Yes.
Yes.
Kuna mtu akona swali ameniita.
Mwalimu?
Yes, go ahead.
Hapa kuna vile uwezi partition hard disk ishatumika ama?
Ati
uwezi partition hard disk ishatumika, haiku partitioniwa ikibaishwa. Alafu ati unataka partition saa hii, kuna yenye nimejaribu imekataa.
No, it is possible. It is possible. Sawa? It is possible. You can be able to partition.
Sawa.
Okay. So tuendelee, tumaliza hii concept ya nini? Soft copy output devices, tubakishe hard copy.
Yes.
So tumesema mambo na CRT na flat screen. Ni sawa? Then tumeona the differences between the two. The most important thing is for you to be able to understand the advantages and disadvantages of each. That is very, very important. And maybe the technology. We have said with the CRT, it has those plates which are parallel to each other. Either two of them are arranged vertically, the other two are arranged horizontally. And that is the technology behind that CRT, the projection at the back of the CRT. Then in flat screen, they don't use that technology. What they use is one, ukienda kwa supermarket utapata TV imeandikwa LCD, liquid crystal panel. Kuna ingine itakuwa imeandikwa LED, kuna ingine itakuwa imeandikwa gas plasma. Just a minute, 1 minute.
Mami? Ma? Kuba megerete Avast Moneri Kasbaski.
Anaitwa nani? Nani huyu? I'm back. Welcome back. You know when we are teaching at home, mtoto atakuja tu na atakuwa anataka kuona, atakwambia dadi, nataka kuona. So sorry for the interruption. Sawa. So nilikuwa nasema ukienda kwa supermarket, just do a window shopping. Utaona screens zingine zimeandikwa gas plasma, zingine zitakuwa zimeandikwa LCD, zingine zimeandikwa LED, etc. So those are the technologies behind those screens. Na zinakuwa na different image quality. So when you go, just check on that, then you try to look at the image quality, then you can be able to maybe Google, you understand more about the gas plasma screens. You can understand more about LCD screen. LCD, it is all about technology. It's all about changing a liquid to a semi-solid state. Changing the liquid to a semi-solid state, and with that semi-solid state is the one that assists us to get the character. Then with the gas plasma, it's all about giving charges to those images. They have different charges. That's why you can see the projection on the screen. But ukisoma utaelewa sana. You can do a research by your own, you understand the technologies. But I've said the most important thing, just understand the differences between CRT and flat screens. Then with the flat screens, you can give examples of the gas plasma. You can give examples of LCDs. That is what is the most important thing. So I guess we are done with the soft copy output devices. Tumesema they are speakers, light emitting. Then we have the screens, which are the monitors. So sasa nitawapatia assignment, you read about the hard copy output devices, where we have the printers and the computer on microfilm. So you'll do that assignment. Well, I can take just 5 minutes. Can I take 5 minutes? Kennedy, can I take 5 minutes?
Yes.
Can I take 5 minutes? So let me take your 5 minutes. Okay. I talk about this hard copy output devices. We have said with the hard copy, they give outputs in a form that you can be able to see. And mostly this is where we talk about the printers. Na zile, acha niite zile kamera za kitambo, in quote. Zile kamera za kitambo. Kuna mtu ashaiona hizo kamera za kitambo? Zilikuwa zina operate aje? Jaribu explain, unmute.
Ilikuwa natumia film. Yenye unaenda unapeleka alafu unatoa picha.
Good. Thumb up. Zilikuwa zinatumia film. Good.
Inawekwa kwa mashine fulani
inatoa picha. Ni sawa?
Yeah.
Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah, that is good. So you could, ilikuwa inatumia film, unapiga unasongesha mbele. Unapiga unasongesha mbele. Then unatoa hiyo film, unaipeleka kwa maybe mtu mwenye tulikuwa tunasema kuosha picha, anaenda anakuoshea hiyo picha. That is to give you the hard copy. Are we together? That is what the computer on microfilm, or it is about. It is about that film. You are taking images by use of those cameras which have those films. Then with that film, unaenda unatoa, unapeleka, then it can be able to be changed into hard copy. Then when it comes to to plotters. Plotters are mainly used by architects and engineers. Plotters are mainly used by architects and engineers. This is because they can be able to produce those fine details. You know, if watu wale washa interact na watu wa engineering, they start drawings they usually make. So they start drawings they make about installation of power in a given. They need to do a sketch. Then kuna hizo fine details which need to be. So for us to be able to access those fine details, the best output device to use is a plotter, not a printer. But you can use a printer, yes, because a plotter not widely available and it is more expensive. But the best device to use is a plotter. Then wale walifanya geography, I think hizi maswali za map kulikuwa na hizo fine details, those lines which were showing places of the same height, maybe those contours, those places which were showing isodams, those fine details. When we use a printer, it is somehow complicated to get those fine details. So for us to be able to get them, we use a plotter. A plotter will give a finer detail as compared to a printer. Then now we have the printer. Hii printer ni kitu common, because each and every time unaenda kuprint notes, sijui unaenda kuprint nini, you're going to print your stuff, etc. But what you need to understand is we can categorize the printers into two: non-impact printers and impact printers. This is determined by the technology of that printer. With non-impact printers, they don't produce noise when we are doing the printing, as compared to impact printers, which produce a lot of noise when we are doing the printing. Najua wengine wenu mmepitia mashule zilikuwa na typewriter. Kuna mtu ashaiona typewriter? Good. Hiyo typewriter wakati secretary anaitumia, it produces a lot of noise.
Yes.
Unaweza fikiria ni kama anapigana na hiyo device hapo ndani. The same to ni kweli, unaweza fikiria anapigana na hiyo device hapo ndani, because he or she has to press that key. Lazima press hiyo key kwa nguvu. Then ukipress kwa nguvu lazima hit your carbon, then it releases. Then the moment it raises up, it produces a lot of noise. Same to impact printers, they produce a lot of noise when they are doing the printing. Then the image quality when we are using an impact printers is higher as compared to when we are using the impact printers. Then with non-impact printers, we can be able to produce several copies very fast as compared to impact printers. In fact, with the impact printers, they are slow in producing that hard copy as compared to non-impact printers. That's why you can be able to produce several copies time as compared to when you are using the impact printers. And that's why the non-impact printers are more expensive as compared to the impact printers. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. What about those who are not responding?
Yes.
Those who are not responding. People who are silent. Mko sawa? Okay. Then we have some examples of the impact printers where we talk about the daisy wheel. You can read more about the daisy wheel. You can read more about the drama printers. You can read more about the chain printers. Those are some examples of the impact printers. Then we have non-impact printers, which are very, very common.
Excuse me,
Those
sir.
are, yes.
Can you repeat about the examples?
Oh, the examples, huh?
Yes.
We have the Daisy, I think the Daisy printers, we have the chain printers, we have the drama printers, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, ziko kwa notes tu utasoma the technology, tuma ziko. Sawa?
Sawa.
Then I was talking about impact printer, non-impact printers, huh? Non-impact printers. These are the common type of printers we get in the market. Huh? They are the common type of printers we get in the market. We have the inkjet. With the inkjet, iko na nozzle wanga inatoa rangi. Wanga inatoa rangi. It sprays the ink. That's why when you are using the inkjet, na wakati umemaliza kuprint, then unguze hiyo karatasi mahali kuna ink, you can be able to dart your work. Jua ikuangi imekauka, because those nozzles just spray the ink. The laser printers, they print by the aid of light. So unajua laser ni light. So with these laser printers, what they do is charge that ink. Then when it is charged, we say it is ionized, then it can be able to stick on the paper. Then again we have the thermal printers. The thermal printers, unlike the laser jet and the inkjet, it has ink in semi-solid form. Semi-solid. Then we say with these printers, that is the thermal printers, they are economical when it comes to the consumption of this ink. They use fewer ink. Then the quality of the output is normally the best as compared to laser printers and the ink printers. So with the thermal printers, they are the most expensive na ni ngumu kuzipata. What we have mostly in the business premises are the laser printers. The inkjet nowadays, they are rare to get. Yes, you can get, but rarely, because they are not economical when it comes to the ink. Thus, they are a bit economical when it comes to the consumption of ink, as well as the image quality for a laser printer is better than that of a. Are you together? So those are some of the examples of non-impact printers. Even we have the electrostatic printers, which is another example of the non-impact printers. Then again, we can be able to categorize these printers depending on how they do the printing. Kuna printer ita print one character after another. Kama ina print Quirino, itaanza na Q, ina print as a character, inaenda kwa the other character which is U, ina print as a character, hivyo hivyo kwa kila character mpaka mwisho. Are we together?
Yes.
Then kuna printer ingine ita print the whole line. Ukitype line mzima na ingine ina paragraph, ita print hiyo line mzima yote. Then it moves to the second line, then the third line, the fourth line, until ime print all the lines on that page. Then kuna printer ingine ita print page after page. Are we together? That's why the moment you go to the settings of a printer, utaona imeandika you are supposed to print one page, then the other page, then the other page, then the other page. It means that the printer you are using can print the whole page at once, then inaenda kwa ile page ingine ina print. Unlike the one that can print maybe line after character after character. Is that? Are we together?
Yes. Yes.
So you get those categories in the notes I have sent. Then the examples of those printers will be there. That is all about hard copy output devices. So just read more about that. Then sasa nitatuma notes. You do the same thing, you and writer. Notes. Nilisema this is not to punish you, but either notes, when you unwrite them, maybe you get to understand better, as well as it becomes easier for you to do your revision. Don't print them, just handwrite them. Huh? Kuna swali before we terminate our class.
Niko na swali.
Yes, go ahead.
Kwa hizi OLED screens si bado huwa zinatumia pixels?
Nini?
OLED type flat OLED screens, the flat screens si bado huwa zinatumia pixels?
Kila screen inatumia pixels. Sawa?
Yeah.
Hello? Are you answered?
Hello? Yeah,
I can hear you. Yes, because I have said all the images, characters, whatever you see on the screen, it is just a series of dots. And the series of dots is what is referred to as pixels. And it determines the screen resolution. That is the number of dots that can be received per second. Answered?
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Kuna swali? Kuna swali? So we can end our lesson there. Are you okay, guys? Okay, guys? Sasa wekeni video tuwaone. Basi imekwisha. Wekeni video sasa tuwaone.
Wengine wetu hatutaki.
Sema mbona
Hawataki kuonekana.